Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something really foundational, a concept that genuinely shifted how Western thought works. We're talking about Immanuel Kant and his critical turn. It sounds maybe a bit academic, but trust me, it's huge. Okay, let's unpack this.
It really is huge. Kant's work, it's not just, a dusty chapter in philosophy history. It marks this pivotal moment. Before Kant, you had all these grand philosophical systems clashing, often without a solid footing. Kant sort of pressed pause.
He paused and did what, exactly?
He challenged reason itself, asked it to look inward, to examine its own power, its own limits. A really audacious idea, actually. It set philosophy on a whole new path.
And that's what we're doing in this deep dive, where we've looked at the key sources on this critical philosophy. Our mission is to pull out the really crucial bits for you, help you get a solid grasp on the main ideas, why they mattered then, and honestly, why they still matter now. We'll make it clear, promise. So let's start with that big shift. The sources say Kant's critical philosophy isn't just another doctrine or system. Instead, it's described as a methodical approach to philosophical inquiry itself. That sounds different. What does it actually mean, shifting focus like that?
Well, it's a profound break, a really monumental one. Before Kant, you had these two big camps, roughly speaking. The rationalists, like Descartes, thought you could figure everything out just through pure reason, basically. And then the empiricists, Locke, Hume, they argued, no, everything comes from our senses, from experience.
And these two camps were often completely at odds, weren't they? Leading to some serious dead ends, especially with Hume.
Exactly. Hume's skepticism was a major challenge. He basically argued that even things we take for granted, like cause and effect, couldn't actually be proven by experience. You just see things happening one after another. So science itself felt a bit shaky. Kant saw this mess, this philosophical stalemate.
Okay, so Kant steps in.
Right. And he realized the problem might not be what they were claiming, but how they assumed we gain knowledge in the first place. He essentially said, hold on, before we build these elaborate theories about the universe, maybe we should understand the toolkit first, our own minds. How are we even equipped to know anything? So his critical philosophy was this structured investigation into the very conditions that make knowledge possible.
Not just adding another theory, but examining the foundations.
Precisely. Like checking the architect's plans and the builder's tools before starting construction.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, speaking of the tools, the word critical, this is where I think it gets interesting for a lot of us. When we hear critical philosophy, we naturally think, finding fault, criticizing something, like being critical of a bad movie. Is that the idea here?
Yeah, that's a really common starting point, and it's a crucial distinction to make. In everyday chat, critical usually means negative feedback, right? But for Kant, it's something else entirely. The sources stress it's a rigorous, self-reflective process. Reason becomes both the investigator and the thing being investigated. It's not about finding fault out there. It's about reason doing a kind of deep internal audit on itself.
An internal audit for reason, I like that. So reason isn't just looking outwards, analyzing the world, it's turning the spotlight inwards, examining its own structure, its built-in rules, its limits, maybe even its biases, like holding up a mirror.
Exactly, that's it, precisely. Reason takes a step back from its day job of figuring out the world and asks, okay, how do I actually work? What are my inherent rules, my categories? What frameworks do I have before I even get any sensory data? That self-examination is the critical part. Wow. It's pretty radical questioning the very tools we use to think and understand instead of just using them without thinking about them. It's like intellectual self-awareness pushed to the limit.
Okay, that's definitely an aha moment. So if reason is doing this deep self-audit, this intense self-examination, what's the point? What was Kant hoping to achieve for us, for knowledge itself? What was the big payoff he was aiming for?
Well, the ultimate aim, as our sources put it, was pretty ambitious. To define the boundaries of what can be known. And by doing that, to provide a secure and legitimate foundation for knowledge itself. You have to remember the context, the Enlightenment.
Right, science was making huge leaps.
Huge leaps. But philosophy felt stuck. People were asking big questions about God, freedom, morality, the limits of our understanding. And there wasn't much agreement. There was a real hunger for some kind of stable ground, intellectually speaking.
So he was trying to fix the chaos? Or at least map it out, give it some structure?
You could say that. He saw philosophy trapped between two extremes. On one side, you had dogmatism, people making grand claims about things maybe we can't actually know for sure, leading to endless arguments. On the other side, you had Hume's skepticism, which, if taken to its extreme, could make you doubt even basic science.
like questioning if the sun will rise tomorrow, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. Questioning the basis for induction. So Kant's critical approach was his way out of this bind. He wanted to clearly mark out what we can know with certainty based
As
on
you have
how our
understood
reason works, and
that the jar
just
will
as
be
importantly
completely
show what
different
lies
from
beyond
that.
those boundaries, the stuff we
You
can
all have been in
maybe
his
believe
mischief
in
for a
or
long
speculate
time.
about, but can't have scientific
As you have
knowledge.
understood
So drawing
that
a
the
line
jar
in the
will be
sand
completely different from
cognitively.
that.
Exactly.
You all have been in
A
his
map of
mischief for
our
a long
cognitive
time.
territory. Here, he'd say, is where we can build solid, verifiable knowledge, like math and physics. And over here, well, that's beyond the reach of theoretical reason. This secure foundation, he believed, was crucial for modern civilization. It gave a rational basis for both science and morality.
Okay, that makes sense. Setting up the rules of the game before playing. He wasn't telling us what to know,
No.
but how we can know anything reliably and where we hit a wall, but how? What was the actual method he proposed for this huge self-examination project?
Right. That brings us to his concept of transcendental philosophy. This is really central.